All right. So look, about to get started on this interview with a very special guest. Just waiting on a little signal to make sure everything was good on it. I love to usually start with some music, but I hate to get these emails about copyright stuff when I think stuff is royalty free and whatnot. And then I get this email and problems. So unfortunately, I don't want no more of the I don't want any more of those emails. So I don't have a dope intro, but I am going to play a little snippet of today's guest, her on the mic, of a recent an artist that I recently did a review of his project on the channel. So you can check that out. And I'll get to that in just a second. I'm gonna make sure this other thing is recording. Actually, I want to play this music first. I'm sorry. This is so my guest is Rain, aka Black Widow. I'll bring her in just a sec. You see her on the screen, but I wanted to, like I said, play a snippet of her song, and then we'll get into this interview.
Yeah, just know it's all business, whether corporate or the hive, I'm a boss miss. Straight lady name for your goony soft snitches. Dry starchy niggas get that press kit, fool. Yeah, now the streets know you fake the whole scenario. Claim they carry loads, leaking stories full of hoes. Stayed holding street codes till he got exposed. Went missing, and everybody know we told. Yeah, niggas getting picked up, but he going home. You got two options, feeling like you chose. Damn, it feel good when you.
All right, now I can hit record. So I want to back up and again, welcome to the show, my guest, Rain, aka Black Widow. So thank you for your time tonight.
Absolutely.
I I was listening to this album and I did my review on it and whatnot, and started looking more into Hus KingPin, the artist. And just saw something. I think it was a snippet. Maybe he had an audio snippet of the song Belly that I just played for everybody on YouTube. And it just mentioned you being on there. I looked up, who's this Rain? Quiet Storm might be your IG and account and whatnot. And I looked down in the comment section, and that's where it usually goes down. But not surprisingly, but a lot of fellas were digging your verse and very giving you a lot of praise.
Mm-hmm.
And not that was shocking because you did do your thing on the verse, but I was like, oh, okay. So then I started looking into you a little bit more, and then I saw, you had in one of your IG posts, you had the C cap on. I was like, what's she doing with that on? And then a little bit got a little more nosy, and I realized you were from the same state as me and whatnot. And I was like, well, let me see if she want to talk. And here we are. So we'll get into all of that in just a second, but just to know a little bit about you, you're from Cleveland originally. Kind of what's the vibe like in Cleveland right now? And I was thinking, since I do talk a lot of sports on the show,
Mm-hmm.
it's the third year without LeBron.
Yeah.
But the Browns, pleased a lot of Ohioans this year, and a lot of people in the tri-state and whatnot. Got a playoff win over a rival like Pittsburgh. Kicked Pittsburgh's ass too.
Right.
And just kind of turned things around. So I just wanted to know, what's the vibe in Cleveland?
Well, like I said, I'm from Cleveland, but I'm not currently there. But I am there probably every other weekend. And so people are happy about it. You can see on Instagram, people have on their Cleveland shirts for whatever team. You'll see people, rocking the Brown stuff, that had the Indian stuff, the Cavs stuff on. So people are really proud. And, Cleveland is a very loyal city. So it does not matter what our teams do. We still for Cleveland. So we support our teams no matter what. So people about it all the time, and if we win, it's just bananas. But with COVID, I think that's what slowed down the big displays. I'm sure you remember in 2000, what was that, 16, when the Cavs won the playoffs, and it was crazy downtown.
Right.
I think if it wasn't, if COVID wasn't an issue, I think just as far as the Browns got, it would have been insane.
Right. So how were you with, like, now, you know, we watching LeBron, he got the chip in with the Lakers last year, and you know, they're the favorites this year and whatnot. How were you with him leaving the city again and disappointing folks? And to this point now, you know, with the team that's rebuilding, I mean, you guys are you know, loyal and whatnot, but that's a big change.
I mean, LeBron can look. Here's my thing. So you asking me my opinion? So I'm gonna say this: that grown man can go where the money reside if he wants to. Okay, so if that's what he chooses to do, and he's healthy and happy and able to live his life, you know, Cleveland had his time with him. He is not obligated to carry the city sports wise, and we have other rising stars and other people who are doing things. So you know, he's from Ohio. He had his time. He did his thing. We were sad to see him go. We were happy to have him come back. And so I just wish him all the best in his career.
Did the city handle it better though this time with him leaving than the first time?
Oh yeah, the first time it was crazy. People were angry. People that did not know that man. People who had never been to a game. They were completely insulted personally when he packed up and left.
Right. So in addition to you know, on your Instagram account, you list yourself as a poet and an MC and an entrepreneur. But what other interests do you have?
I started a company about 4 years ago called Shayla Butter. And so I was, you know, pretty much had my own recipe for body butter. And it actually did very, very, very well. And unfortunately, I had to shut down my company last year because everything was handmade.
Okay.
Most of my products, or should I say, most of my supplies came from either Ohio or Africa. And so I was able to put together a product. And I still get requests to this day, even though I'm like, hey, I'm still shut down. I also started a company called Queen's Box. And it was like jewelry, but it was stuff that kind of reflected stuff that Black women would like to wear. I had ankhs, I had African masks, all that kind of stuff. So I hope to get my companies back off the ground all over again. The poetry side of things, I've been writing poetry since I was about 10 years old. And it's always been a way for me to kind of express myself, no matter what those feelings are. And poetry is really free. It doesn't have to rhyme. It can rhyme. You could talk about anything, and you can make it public or you can make it personal. So, you know, that's always been a way for me to kind of channel my energies and kind of think through things and write through them as well.
So have you been performing locally or nationally, or what do you do with your poetry?
It's so interesting because as you said, some people will go, well, you dope. I want to see what else you got. And I really started my career in Cleveland on the stage.
Okay.
I recorded anything before I actually performed. I put full shows together and just performed them without even recording them. And so people kind of knew me from being on stage. And as I started recording things, I started getting a lot of attention to do things, but they didn't pan out quite the way that I wanted them to. And it wasn't time. Timing is really essential.
For everything.
For everything. And so I had made the decision to continue on in my private career. A lot of people don't know, but I have 4 degrees. So my degrees have done well for me. And so I've been able to do things as a professional as well. So anyway, back on the music thing, performing a lot. I have not done any performances as recent. I've been invited to do things, but I've kind of declined because I'm really working on putting together these projects.
Okay. So what, I mean, is there a healthy spoken word scene in Cleveland? I mean, like I said, I'm here in Dayton, Ohio, and we used to have the Signature that ran, I don't know, well over 10 years. I saw a lot of phenomenal spoken word artists. I've always been a huge fan of poetry. I tried to write my own, never got the courage to perform any, and just wasn't around any poets to really build off of the, you know, if you even want to call it, foundation that I had. But the Signature brought all kind of artists here, and people that I saw on TV, I've seen on TV, I've seen on, you know, Good Morning America, on Deaf Poetry and whatnot. So it was phenomenal. And then before things really shut down, there was a younger um, group locally that was doing a series, but they were all performers. The signature really wasn't organized by spoken word performers per se. And then I know in Columbus I think there was something there called The Nest, maybe. I never made it down to check it out, but some of their artists would come up here and perform and whatnot. So it was a really dope scene to me, and I really loved it. Was anything like that, or has anything like that been going on in Cleveland?
For a long time. I mean, Cleveland has one of the most rich hip hop and rap scenes of any city.
Okay.
I mean, not to go too far back, but as far back as I can remember, there's always been a scene for poetry, for hip hop. So right now, I know there's somebody that I used to be in a group with. It was called Fahrenheit. But Nick Rebel, he actually posted on his Instagram that because he made sure he sent it to my inbox. I believe every Tuesday he does a poetry thing. Don't quote me. I don't know the frequency, but I know that there's a poetry event. There are still hip hop shows with open mic. DJ Jack the Ripper still does that. You have all sorts of people doing events. Katie 380 reached out to me and told me that there is a male-female battle. So people are going to be performing, rappers going to be doing their, I guess, performing their songs. But there was always something. So there was a place called the Humidor.
Okay.
Long time ago. A lot of poets used to come there. You could trade your cigarettes out for cigars, different brands, and then there was always poetry, and people literally snapped for you when you came up to the mic. You know. Okay. And then there was the Rhythm Room, and then there's the Grog Shop. There were so many venues, Peabody's, the Rockstar, Agora, that people did local shows. And so in Cleveland, you do still have promoters. You have people who have space for events, space to shoot videos, photographers. The number of photographers is phenomenal. There are several people that can shoot you a music video. So you can pretty much, just in Cleveland, do your entire thing, from having a stage to a video to a studio, mixing and mastering. It's all there.
Okay. Have you had the chance, or had you had the chance to do any traveling as a result of performing your poetry, or has it just been local?
It's just been mostly local, but I have been given opportunities to do stuff outside of the state. I actually started on a project up in Canada, was able to work with some people there, was able to work out east to do some recording, asked to do some shows. And so, like I said, my biggest thing right now, especially with this being a point in time where I feel like it's time, is getting those projects to where, you know what I mean? I have that fresh content. And I feel like I have something different to say than I used to.
Okay. We're going to touch on that in just a second.
Okay.
What was your, just as a poet? I mean, it seems like with the inauguration and that young lady, Amanda Gorman, was kind of the first time I've heard poetry, spoken word, kind of come back to the forefront a little bit. Mm-hmm. Did you check her out at all, or have any reaction to seeing her, or the buzz that she got?
Yes, it was beautiful. It's a classic art. Poetry is a classic art, right? So you learned about this in school. You had your English class. They made you read Edgar Allan Poe, some Langston Hughes. You know, you had all types of different people that you learned about, but it is a classic art. And so the fact that it was, I mean, it's so classy too at the same time as well. I mean, there's so many different ways you can deliver it, and there's so much variety to it.
Right.
But it's so funny because you bring it up, and it brings up another kind of thought process. When people talk about how music evolves and they say, oh, that's old. No, it's like classic stuff is not going anywhere. Art isn't going anywhere, no matter what form it is. It's going to evolve, and there's new things introduced, But if it was ever good, if it was ever dope, it ain't going nowhere. And if somebody knows how to do it good, it's really gonna last. And that girl showed. Now look how young she is, right?
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I loved it. I
Okay.
love.
What influences or what influences did you have in poetry? I mean, I bring this up because I mean I loved Black Ice, obviously. Prentice Powell from out west is another favorite of mine. Ursula Rucker was someone that I loved, and one of the best poets that I saw in person at that signature event was actually this sister named Sonny Patterson, who was just that sister was powerful. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she gave me some stuff to think about that night. So I've always just been a fan of spoken word. Any artist that jump out to you, stand out to for you?
So my favorite of all time is Maya Angelou.
Okay.
Period. Like she's just my, and and again, this goes back to when you study it and when you're introduced to it. I think what made her stand out for me was kind of the emotion and depth
Right.
that she felt from the very little that she would say, and the empowerment that it gave her that she was able to give other people. So it's funny because I just reach all the way back because I remember how I was influenced by that when I was younger.
No, and that's dope that you say her because listening to her actually would encourage me to try to write. And you didn't have to be so focused on your delivery or your style and whatnot. Like you said earlier, you can do whatever you want to do. And like you said, she was, her work stands alone, and she didn't have that kind of like more, I don't know, a modern delivery or, some of the more recent styles, but she still was, towering above the work of most. What, so it's kind of weird, but, with poetry, it's kind of up and down. Like I said, I mentioned earlier with Death Poetry Jam, it was a height. We had a movie like Love Jones. It was at a height.
Right.
It was some stuff on Love and I think it was TV1 had Love and Verses or something, or Omari Hardwick was a host on there for something Verses. But they had, that went on for a season or two, maybe 3, and so that's kind of cyclical. And now here with you being on the mic as an MC, it seems like, in a way, and I don't want to be disrespectful to the females, but it seems like women's hip hop is kind of has a little bit more of an up and down in it than the men's side. Would you agree or disagree?
I won't say I disagree, because I think I understand where you're coming from. With women, it's almost like people say there's room for one woman who is the best woman, and there's such a small handful that are kind of out to the forefront, that whatever the prevailing force is, or what everybody else is, whatever they're following, is how you end up kind of feeling that that's where it's at. I think Ninth Wonder had a tweet that he put out, and he said hip hop is whatever you listening to and whatever you making it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in order for one to feel that, okay, we have kind of a hypersexual presentation versus a more poetic and thought-provoking, that's based on what you listen to. If I come home and listen to Jill Scott and Erykah Badu and Lauryn Hill every day, that's what it is for me.
Right.
But if you do the mainstream thing on the radio, a lot of times what you hear is what's deemed popular or what's being pushed at that time, and it's easy for you to feel like, okay, this is where it's at.
Right. And I guess what I was meaning was basically that, but it's just every so often a female, one, like you said, one, maybe 2 females come along and they represent most of the what's considered pop for women. It's always women doing it. You're right. But it's just like you said, only one woman gets to be on top at a time.
Yeah, it's kind of the story.
So how did the transition for you go to get to starting to MC, moving away from spoken word and poetry?
So, a neighbor of mine said he needed a girl on a verse. And we, just grew up in the same neighborhood. So, he was forming a group and was like, could you do this? I mean, I know you do the poetry, but I'll write the rhyme for you. And I'm like, wait, you're not supposed to let nobody write your rhymes for you. You're supposed to do it yourself. So I said, I write it myself. And I'm like, well, you don't rap. I can still do this. I mean, what is it? It's a beat. I got to do this too. I can do it. And that's how it all started.
How old were you?
You don't ask a
I'm about to say I don't want. you know.
Okay, no. I was 15 at the time.
Okay. You said 4 degrees. I've been over here calculating the whole time, like, so that'll give her, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
But I mean, what was the challenges? Like you said, with rhyming on beat, developing your style and whatnot, and vocal, working on your vocals, breathing, and all of that type stuff. What were some of the early challenges with switching? Because not everybody can do that. Because like I was mentioning, Black Ice, he was supposed to be one of the first. He was like the only poet to be signed to Def Jam, but no album ever came out, and we just haven't seen a lot of artists who are very dope at spoken in the spoken word realm who don't make that transition over. And then not all rappers, can go over and do spoken word. So what were like the challenges for you?
I would just say catching the rhythm, like saying those things at a cadence, and trying to find where you're going to lay on a track. And there's so many different ways to do it. There's so many. That's why when people say there's a new style or somebody has a way of delivering something, it's really finding where you got to lay on that track, because you could just take the same words that you said and put no rhythm to them at all, no cadence, and just say it all, but if you are really listening to the music, I feel like it's easy. I feel like it's, how people say people slave to the drum, they just start dancing and moving.
Right.
If you can nod your head on beat, you can get it out.
So from from that start at 15, how soon until you had like music, that you were comfortable sharing with others, or when you had your first project,
Well,
what you would consider a project?
We formed a group that year, and the next year we made a project.
Okay.
And it didn't really go any further than our neighborhood. Everybody went off to college or whatever they were going to do, and so that sort of dissipated. But I didn't stop doing doing any of that stuff. So I met local DJs, and I was able to finally get a home studio and stuff like that and start recording. And in the time that I did that, you didn't have Instagram. You didn't have, you was lucky to have what, MySpace?
Right.
So with that being said, it was like you went from the demo era to a really big transitional era where you could use the internet to get, attention. And so how do you decide what you want? Do you want to be independent? Do you want somebody to sign you? And then the contracts came. And the contracts were not what I wanted them to be. Like, I wasn't willing to sacrifice what I needed to initially per those contracts. And so I just didn't do it.
Gotcha. So, like I said, in looking you up, I stumbled across, digging down further into your account, some of your earlier pictures. I find out about the group, the Dogon. Did I say that right? The Dogon. The Dogon.
Yes.
What's behind the name?
So the Dogon is a tribe in Africa, and they're located in Mali, and they've been around for generations. And there is a lot of science and history to those folks. They were also teachers in Egypt. Okay. And what happened was, when there was a shift that was going to occur in Egypt before Egypt kind of fell, they migrated away. And they were able to preserve their knowledge and You know, very few people have been able to speak with them. You know, some people have, some anthropologists have been out to talk to them about what they know about the universe, um, about communicating with the stars, other beings outside of this planet. And so, you know, it, what the group wanted to do, and the reason why we chose that name, to name the group after that tribe, was to really tap into ourselves. And that's something that, you know, our people have become really big on, because we were severed from, you know, from our root. And so, with that being said, the best way for you to know about your potential, or how to reach your potential, is to kind of dig back to know yourself. And there's so many different tribes and people to learn about that from, but it has to do with a human potential. So we started the group, named it Dogon, and hit on a lot of what those people know about.
Who came up with the name out of the three of you? For those that don't know, it was two males and then Rain.
Okay. I don't remember. I don't really remember. Look, here's the thing. I know it wasn't me. So it had to be one of the two. And I do not remember.
Are y'all still cool together, or have y'all kind of moved on? And
We've moved on. We cool and everything, but we've kind of we made the project, and then we kind of dissipated. And it's crazy because I feel like the project was excellent. But we didn't have any specific direction for it once we'd done that. And we did a couple shows. We were invited to do some things. No one ever said the name of the group properly. it was always so funny. And most people aren't familiar with that tribe, so no one knew really how to say it. But yeah, it was a time.
so, like you said, you guys get together, you put out an album. I thought the album was pretty dope, to be honest with you. I think it's 6 or 7 records on there, maybe 8.
Yes, about 6.
I think it was 6, maybe 6 or 7. But very well done. Can't knock most of the production. The subject matter is tight. The song structure, I mean, a lot went into that. So, I mean, I review a lot of, not mainstream, but like, regular projects on my channel. But in doing that, I have been reached out to by, some independent guys, some regional guys across the country. And I'm not big enough to turn people away. So I find myself listening to some of these projects, and it's almost like, because of the technology and whatnot, and the internet, like you said earlier, a lot of this stuff that's like, I use the word lower level. I mean, but maybe just the regional stuff. It's not, a lot of this stuff is not that bad. So when you release this, what's your reaction to like the reception of it? And if it doesn't take off, because I'm just now hearing about it today, I'm here in Ohio, but it doesn't really blow up, what do you take away from that and all of that you guys invested into creating that?
Well, it's like anything else, and people say this too. They're like, well, if it doesn't blow up today, then what you gonna do? Well, I was doing something before I was doing that. So, none of us were sleeping outside on a dream. So you have the other things that you have going on in regular life, and then you form this group because you all are conveniently somehow located in the same area. And so it's like, why not? Let's do this. Let's do it. And so it's interesting that project, we walked away from that project years ago, right? But me and you are talking about it right now.
Right.
Right. And so there's been so much talk about time and what it means, and it being infinite, and time being not linear like we think it is. That project still exists because we still talk about it the same way your ancestors are still here, because you're talking about, whatever you talk about, you breathe life into. And, there may be some people right now who go back to that project and go, wow, that's really dope.
Right.
And so it depends on us what we end up doing. I could end up putting out some music and it ends up doing really, really well. And people do the same thing. They reach back and they go, can we get the whole group for this? And my answer to that would be absolutely. Let me see where they at. Let's see what they want to do. But everything still has life. You know, it continues to have life. So we'll see what happens with it. We know where it was, but there's no telling what future life it has either.
Right. I actually I have that same thinking. Like I said, we're on here live streaming. It's been a couple of people that popped in and out of the chat, but I'm like, regardless of whether I have 10 subscribers, whether I have 50 people in the live chat watching me. And I told you, you know, I cover a lot of boxing on the channel, and I get on here on Saturday night after the fights go off, and I might talk about boxing for an hour or 45 minutes or 30 minutes. And it's one or two people on here popping in and out. But like you just said, it's what I do. I love boxing. I love to talk about boxing. I don't really have a lot of friends. I'd be talking in my car, you know, Sunday about boxing, or as I'm driving to work Monday, I would be talking about boxing to myself. So I'm just come on here and I hit record and I do my thing, and it doesn't matter because I know I do it at a certain level that I'm proud of. So I put it out there, and it is what it is. Yeah. What was your guys? What was your you know, what was your level of not comfort, but I mean, how did you guys feel that the finished product came out when it was complete?
We loved it. Like it was just so, I mean, look, that project deep for real.
Yeah, it ain't no you know, it's not bad. I'm putting it out there for people. Go check it out. I'm gonna put the name in the description of this. Mm-hmm. Enjoy.
It's deep. That project deep. It's a song on there called Afterlife.
Yeah, that's the outro, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
That's the outro, isn't it? The last song on there, I think.
Don't quote me because I haven't listened to the project in its like released form in a long time, but Afterlife is a concept where what if real life is actually when you go to sleep? So us being spirit, you know, part spirit beings, what if that is where we truly exist at? Or what if really life starts after you pass away? And if this is a dream instead? So just thinking about, you know, things kind of in a spiritual format. And I believe there was a sample we use on there of a guy talking. And I mean, by the time you listen to all three verses and that man, that's it. Like it really was. That was like my favorite joint. So yeah.
You know, I was gonna skim through the project. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to her later. You know, let me and I found out about it. I went back and dug back in your account maybe around 5:30, because I was trying to find more about you. Mm-hmm. I got down there and I'm like, well, I pulled it up on the streaming thing that I subscribed to, and I was like, okay, they got it on here, and I was like, I'm just gonna skim through it real quick, and it got to your man talking about how did you get here. It was all in the mind. Did anything exist before your mind? I'm like, next thing you know, I didn't listen to like the entire thing. And like you said, it was dense. It's some subject matter on there. So anybody that likes to think, I would check that out. It's called Sirius Cypher, Sirius Cypher, Cypher. I enjoyed it. Who would you say you know, are your influences in emceeing?
Oh my goodness.
Actually, hold on. Think on that. Was it intentional that you were the anchor on a lot of those songs?
Was I the anchor?
Yeah. And usually, you know, the anchor kind of you know, implies this is our anchor for a reason. You know, she bringing up the rear. Was that intentional or just ended up that way?
So so Kenny Ali is in the group. He produced all of the tracks.
Okay.
He actually did the mixing and the mastering of everything. And sometimes we sat down and we decided the order based on what we put down. I don't, I would never once did we have like a, Destiny's Child, Beyonce child moment. Never. And I just think that everybody's verses were all thought provoking. Like
Right.
we all were able to take everybody there. Sometimes I ended up being last and we ended up just saying it's fine like it is because I was the last one to finish my verse. I was always the last one to finish my verse. And not because of anybody else, just I write slower than both of them. Mr. Fofo, that dude will write one of his verses in literally like 5 minutes and be like, all right, go ahead, I'm ready to record, and record it in one take. Okay. I ain't never nothing like him before. Kenny Ali, give him a day. It's already recorded, it's done. He mixed his portion. And it's like, Rain, are you gonna I got y'all. They roll around Wednesday. They like, did she do her verse? So I always was the last one. I wasn't always the last one on the song. But yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
And I'm asking because a couple of months ago, all these years that I've been a fan and loved the Purple Tape, only built for Cuban Links.
Mm-hmm.
Love that album. And a partner of mine is not really the biggest Wu-Tang fan. For some reason, last year, I think he reached out to me and asked me something, about it. And I guess he really took it to the lab because he knew that I was a huge Raekwon guy and Wu-Tang guy. And then he texted me back as his critique. He was like, Wood, why he not finishing his songs? Why is he not the anchor on his own songs? And I had to sit back and think, like, I had never really looked at it like that. And here it is, this dude is looking at that as like a weakness or whatever, or a sign of weakness. Like, why isn't he doing this on his album? And I'm like, well, I mean, it was Ghostface, which was his main partner. So I mean, maybe they just didn't look at it like that. But it just always sat with me that I never noticed that listening to it.
But what do you mean by anchor? You mean like the last person on the track?
Yeah.
But let's go back. How many classic songs do we have where the intro or the first person it goes is everything?
We do have that, but I'm just saying, if you listen to Onyx with Sticky Fingers, Always Last, Busta Rhymes in Leaders of the New School, he was always last. It's a couple other groups. I mean, most of the time when Fife rapped, he was either in the middle or first. Now it was a period in time where certain artists excelled in being in the lead off or the jump off. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times in a lot of your bigger, in your groups, that anchor slot was reserved for the featured dude in the group. He was the one that broke off and did his own album.
Well, they actually Kenny Ali and Mr. Fofo have albums and I don't.
Okay.
So
I'm
just saying, like, so I don't know. I think it just depends on what works. I think timing, other stuff like that. We just never sat down and said, oh, you always going to be last, or, oh, you always going to be the feature. They pretty much were more active in the full process creatively. I came up with a lot of ideas, but I was always the last one to write it.
I mean, I'm not trying to create any turmoil in the group. I'm just strictly because my man brought that up to me when I started listening to it. I was like, damn, she's last on. And now it was one of the songs where you guys kind of y'all did like a pass around kind of thing. Yeah. So but you were the third one on most of those. But I think even in Diggable Planets, the one cat, he was always the anchor on all the songs, and Ladybug or whatever was kind of in the middle. And that's just my interpretation. But I will say, I mean, it wasn't a lot of drop off between any of y'all. I think y'all fit together really well. But I'm just saying, for me, listening to it, I think it came out in 2017, right? 2016?
16. It could have been 17. I think it was 16.
Okay. But I'm just saying, with me coming to know you as Rain on this single with Hus KingPin, and I don't know if either one of them, I'm going back like maybe she was bigger. And then when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, so let me ask this question. But no, I thought y'all fit together really well. And honestly, you also got to look at the record cover. You're in the middle. They're the two heads are on the side of you, and your head is in the middle. So I just thought they were showcasing you a little bit.
Maybe they were. It was all love. So
or maybe it was better symmetry with the female being in the middle. You know, maybe
that was more of the thought process. They put me in the middle because, you know, two guys on the side, woman in the middle.
And like I said, I thought y'all fit together real well, played off of each other really well. And the tightness of the subject matter on every song, it definitely didn't seem like any kind of rivalries whatsoever. So I thought the project was dope.
Well, thank you.
So you know, what's your thoughts on what's going on in hip hop right now? I just don't leave it there. What's your thoughts? You know, where are you? And coming from this angle, like 2020, and actually the last, maybe from 2016 to 2020, I'm 45, and I don't know. It just wasn't a lot going on that interesting for me. I was listening to another podcast yesterday, and they had Conway on there, and they mentioned this dude was adamant that Conway the Machine got him back into listening to hip hop again. I would say Kendrick helped with that. Some J. Cole stuff helped for me to get back into hip hop. And then I will say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I started hearing Griselda a lot and started getting into the production and the sound that they had, and then some of the lyricism that they were bringing around. And then getting into 2020 with the world stopping, I really had a chance to tap into like a dozen guys that I didn't even know existed that all have like 6 to 8 records of, you know, in their catalogs. I just hadn't heard of them. But I mean, somebody like, oh man, it just totally skips my mind. From Little Brother. Fonte. You know, dudes like him kept me interested. It's some guys out there, but like I said, in the last year, really tapping into what's going on, mainly in New York, has really kind of been inspirational to me.
Okay.
So what's been going on with you and what you know, how you looking at hip hop right now?
So, and we kind of touched on this earlier. I feel like, and by the way, I love Conway the Machine. Here's the thing, and I said it earlier, it's what you make it. It's so many dope people making music, like, you know what I mean? And you just even listen to the Fight the Power that they redid, you know, with Rhapsody and Nas and like it really depends on what you're listening to. And if you are tuned in to what is maybe considered mainstream, I've had people say to me like, well, you know, did you hear the song? And I'm like, no, I don't actually listen to I listen to satellite radio. So I listen to Sway in the morning, you know what I mean? I listen to Roxanne Shante in the afternoon, Redman in the morning, and I listen to what they playing on those stations. And so I hear hip hop all day long. I hear older hip hop. I hear new stuff. You know, artists that have been around for 2 decades. I listen to what they got, you know, out new. But, you know, I listen to what we classically call, you know, hip hop, that golden era sound that, you know, and I feel like it's still going on. Those artists are still active. All you gotta do is go to whatever you stream, because that's the big thing now, and go look at who you used to love to listen to, and they probably have released something. Now, have you heard it on the radio a million times? No, because music has evolved with technology like everything else, right? So now you just stream what you like. So that's why I said I can come home and listen to what I want to. I come in and I tell Alexa what I want, and now she's activated and she's probably going to talk. Tell her
I didn't get that.
Right. Okay, she stopped. So I tell that thing what I want to hear, and there's millions of songs on Amazon Music. I get down how I live. I can listen. Yesterday I listened to Ghostface all day.
Right.
I came in from work and I told her to play Ghostface Killer, and that's what I listened to until I lay down.
And that's what I guess for me, that's another reason. So the music was changing. I'm like you, I quit listening to the radio probably in 2003, 2005, and I was very frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but like you said, it's about 2015, somewhere in there, maybe 2014, 2016. But that's a thing that a lot of brothers, that's what we talk about, in our 20s and 30s is, have you heard so and so, you listening to so and so. And like I said, with me reaching 45, a lot of my partners they just gave up on hip hop altogether. And a lot of them have one or more kids, and they've moved on to other things. I don't have any kids, and I'm sitting here like, man, I need something to do. And music, honestly, music has really always been my main friend when I think about it. And so to get back to some of the changes and the releases that I've seen over the last several years really just started. And then, like you said, as all these SoundCloud and the streaming services and everything, as long as I was able to go and find the artists that I like to listen to, I didn't really have no complaint about all the little so-and-sos and the little this and I have it. I mean, I got all my stuff right over here.
Yeah, but that's interesting that you say that too, because look, everybody else got to be frustrated too, because that's how those littles blew up. Those are SoundCloud rappers. The people found them.
Right.
Same way you can find your favorite artist that you don't know is still active, but is.
You know what? Most of my co-workers and people that I in my circle, they really didn't care nothing or have any real conversation about rap unless Jay-Z dropped the album. That was the only time they told me about a bar that hit them or,
Right.
And I'm like, I told you about, because now Ghostface was pretty steady in coming out with new material. And that's actually, Ghostface is like my favorite rapper next to Nas. But I'm telling dudes like, yeah, Ghost has, an album. Fonte had an album. Little Brother was out there. I'm like, it's tons of others. Why you just wait for Jay-Z every 3 or 4 years? I don't get that. That was that. So, what's your thoughts on what? Let's dig more into the women. I'm a huge Rhapsody fan. I'll be honest. At first, I didn't know if I was going to get there with her. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate the fact, I give her a ton of credit that she continued to put herself up against some of the best in the game with some of the artists that she jumped on tracks with. And I feel like over time she figured out, how to make good records and then learn how to turn good records into great albums. With those last 2 albums, I was a huge fan of both of those. So she's been doing her thing. 2020, I found out who Shay Noir was and really loved her Juno record as well as the As God Intended. And then this week I broke down and started listening to Cyrock. I got some more time to spend with her. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of dope female MCs doing their thing.
It is. And the thing is that, and I hate to have to say this, but women have to work like 4 times as hard. We do, to be taken seriously. And I think it starts off first, men do things with their eyes. I mean, like hip hop is like it's a male dominated thing. It's something that guys like. So, they do everything with their eye. Y'all do everything with y'all eyes first. I remember when I met Hus and he heard me and he was like, he spent the whole day, his eyes was like this. Like he was chilled. He's so laid back. Like he is what he sounds like.
Okay.
And he heard me and his eyes got real big. Like, this you? And so DJ Beans was like, we didn't expect that to come out of you. You know what I mean? So I think with women, it's on the outside too. You got to deal with, is she here for the fun or is she here because she got bars, And so you have to work your way through that. You do. And once people get through that and they see, how dope you are, like that's where it's at. It's so many females outside of that And if you on Instagram long enough and you listen to one female, they start plugging you into all these other ones. It's some chicks out there that's dope. And they're not trying to sound like the new kind of like auto-tune whiny music.
Right.
Like they spin full bars. They redoing UNITY and everything else. Like, you know what I mean? Even people who weren't even around when that dropped.
Right.
Never was there when the video premiered. Just we on some female empowerment stuff. So yeah.
So how do you think that with, I'll say, so you have two battles to fight. I mean, you got to work 4 times as hard to stand out to your male counterparts than as male listeners. And like I said, everything that I saw in that Hus Instagram post, guys were tagging you and making their comment, or just, saying that you spit fire, so on and so forth. So that was promising for me. But like I said, I know a lot of guys who, they don't even want to hear it. I'm bringing it up like, no, this is, and it's like, I'm almost apprehensive now to try to talk to fellas about a lot of things involving women.
It wasn't too long ago. I actually, somebody reached out to me to do like this verse for this track, and all these people were gonna be on there. Oh, this and that, And then it was, oh, well, we got to take you off because it's a guy on there that don't do work with females.
Exactly.
Oh, really? We doing that? We still doing that type of stuff? Like, it was dope. Everybody, but this had nothing to do with my verse or me. So it wasn't taken personal.
Right.
I felt, though, that people should have held themselves together better and been like, that's stupid. So the verse dope. We putting it out. This is what it is.
So, go ahead.
So yeah, so I mean that's something that we got to deal with.
And I mean it's been difficult. I actually, one of my partners, the one cat that I do talk music with, I was big on the last Rhapsody album, the joint that she had with Tupac in the chorus. And then she was just talking about, celebrate us, love us. We in this with you. We got your back. And my man came out. I talked to my partner about it, and he was like, she on some feminist stuff. And I was scratching my head like, man, I was just listening to the music. Like, I didn't get that, but I'm like, people have their interpretation. Or like the artist that you said, he had his, what do they call that? Predisposed, whatever, he came into it with his mind made up and wasn't to be, swayed in how he feels. So yeah, like I just kind of enjoy the female artists that I enjoy, and that's it.
I mean, we should just be looked at as MCs. You're not going to agree with everything a guy says. You're not going to necessarily, it shouldn't matter. But people like what they like. You know what I mean? So
that's why I didn't go on with the conversation. It was like, all right, feminist, maybe. Okay.
If that's what you think, that's cool. She got, I mean, just in life, you learn. Like, you go to the place of least resistance. You go where you like. If you don't want me over here, I don't have to be over there. If you don't want to listen to me, you don't have to listen to me. If you like it, you like it. That's even better. You know what I mean? But you can't focus on what ain't working for you. And if it's the person that don't like what you do, they just don't like it. That's cool.
Yeah, that just came up today, actually, with Stephen A. Smith from ESPN talking about women in combat sports. And I don't know if you know Clarissa Shields or not, female boxer.
Okay.
She made a video. She was on her Instagram yesterday lashing out about him and what he said. And he didn't say that women shouldn't be fighting. He just said his preference was not to see women punching each other in the face. And she talked about, 20 minutes for it. But then another sister that I was listening to, another female fighter out of Chicago, she was like, I would waste 0 time. And she wasn't even rubbed the wrong way about it. She was just like, I wouldn't go out of my way to try to change Stephen A's opinion. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna go out here and fight because that's what I do, and I'm gonna focus on my career. And if he come along, he come along, and if he stays, he stays. And I was like, you put so much energy in people that don't rock with us, like, for what?
Well, and because that's society at this point, is it not? oh, you have to accept who I am. You all have to accept me. And what the problem with that is that when, you know, because when we were younger, I'm not that much younger than you, but there was a point in time when you lost, you just lost.
That's it.
and you cried or whatever. But when nobody, you know, then you know, not too long ago, sociologists came out and said, well kids can't lose because it's mental to them. No. Like adulting is a losing game if you don't step up. Right. So I think that, you know, and then we got all these people out here that are like, oh, well, you have to accept me because I'm this. You have to accept me because I'm that. And it's like, I really didn't even need to know that about you to even like you. We're doing too much now, right? And so, no, you don't have to care. You don't. If you spend, and this is why I said on my Instagram, I have no haters. Like, if you don't, I don't have you. How can I have a hater? I don't have you. You off somewhere else doing whatever you're doing.
Exactly. So, go ahead.
You do.
Right. So let's get to this Belly song real quick. You said, how did you meet Hus?
Okay, so I was out in LA just for the weekend with my bestie, and I hit up an A&R that he and I both know. Me and him been friends for a while, not, you know, over 10 years. And just a cool person. So I hit him up. I'm like, what's going on? He like, we downtown, you know, we down here chilling. Why don't you come down and have drinks with us? By the time me and my bestie got a burrito, you know, chilled out for a little bit, got dressed, I got the phone call. I hit him up and he was like, well, we not downtown no more. We over at Hus's crib, just come through. So, you know, we drove over, whatever, went up, and I saw him, gave him a big old hug because I've just known him for a long time. And then I meet Hus and DJ Beans. And so that's, I mean, so he's like, play something for me. And I'm like, well, can you hook me up to the Bluetooth? And it was just all this. So he ended up listening to a song that I had recorded. I was like, this you? And I'm like, yeah, nah, yeah. So 3 days after I got home from LA, he went to my Instagram and dropped me a instrumental. And I put down a verse on that instrumental. I was actually out in New York. And so I went to the studio there and recorded it, sent it to him. And then it wasn't even like a couple of days after that, I went to his Instagram and he had the Belly song up as like a teaser. And I got in the comments, it's still there. I got in the comments, I'm like, what? That beat was so dope. So as soon as I messaged him that, he was like, yeah, it ain't ready. So then he went to my inbox and was like, go ahead and wave out on here. I'm like, oh, this is going down. So a week later, because I was like, how much time I got? So, you know, I'm always bringing up the rear. So I went on ahead, got it recorded. I am. So I was like, how much time I got? Because this is just so fire.
Right.
I literally wrote the verse in the car on the way to the studio. So I was like writing it on my phone in my notes. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, this beat dope. Get in there. I record it. And that was it. I sent it to him. And the person that we both know was like, he was running around letting everybody hear this. He was like, he likes this. And I'm like, okay, good. Because I didn't really like the first verse that I did for him. That wasn't like that one was. So that's how it happened.
So you didn't hear, did you hear his verse before you did your verse, or you just spit over a track?
I heard his verse first, but I didn't know if that was what he was using because that's the one that's on his Instagram. So if you go even further back in his Instagram, this had to be back in November-ish, I think it was, December. Anyway, there's another scene from Belly, and he had that verse and that beat. So he just sent me the beat over.
Okay.
With and I had already heard his verse.
Okay.
Because it was on there. So yeah.
So what's your thoughts in the song, on the song, in the context of the album? Because it kind of like doesn't go with anything else. I mean, it stands out from everything else on there in its sound and even kind of its song structure. There's no chorus on there. And then I'm listening to the song a couple times before we started talking, and I'm trying to figure out. I'm assuming when it's titled Belly, I'm assuming that it has something to do with the movie Belly. But in listening to y'all's verses, I kind of couldn't make the connection. And then in his verse, he's kind of on some F. I don't use the N word, but F ninjas. And then you are kind of like putting ninjas up on some kind of on game and understanding things and whatnot. I really can't interpret the song.
That's the best part about it. Like so when you listen to sometimes you can hear a rapper and all they talk about is the same thing, right? They may just talk about hustling or whatever.
Right.
And then there are rappers who are able to like poetically say the same stuff a different way, still put stuff together and make a piece of art. It's like abstract art versus, photography. It's still a picture on the wall. It's just a different style. So, I feel like, I mean, if you listen to what he said, I mean, he was talking about a lot of different things. Some drugs came up, some guns came up.
Guns came up.
And if we talking about the streets, this is what I got to say about it. Everybody knows the person I talked about. Everybody seen that person. Everybody knows the person in their hood. Like everybody know about the person that got picked up. But you know what I'm saying? Everybody getting picked up, but he going home.
Right. Like I said, I followed your verse easier, and that's kind of what made me check out the project. And I picked up on Hus on the he had a song with Planet Asia on Buck Wild's album, Music Is My Religion, I think. And his verse on there was Hus. And I'm like, well, dude got an interesting pen. He speak about things from a unique angle.
He does.
I kind of put him in my mind, I'll check into him. But I hadn't really dug into his catalog. Because that's the thing, like I told you earlier, it's some of these guys that I come across and I see that they have 6 or 7 albums. And I'm like, damn, it's hard to find time to go back in somebody's catalog like that. Mm-hmm. But then I started seeing that he was putting up, the album cover for the last month or so, a month and a half or something before the album came out. So I was like, I'm just gonna tap into him with his latest. And then when it came out, I was looking at the name of it. I was like, I don't know what the hell this is, but I kind of put it together immediately with the group Portishus from back in the day. And then that really made me interesting that here's this hip hop, this Emcee that has some kind of interest in a group like Portishus. So I really wanted to see what it was about. And then as I started listening to the songs and whatnot, saw that it was a double album, which is very audacious, for now, because you get above 11 joints, it's kind of hard to give somebody that type of time. Mm-hmm. But I thought the album was solid.
It is. And if you notice too, that most of the songs are around a couple minutes long.
Right.
So it keeps moving. So when, he didn't beat you down with, a double album of 5-minute songs. It's some of them are just a verse. Some of them are, I mean, to me, it was just like, it was pure art. It was well executed. The features were interesting. Everything was different. I feel like the song that we did, because I've heard other people say, like, this is very different. No other feminine voices were lended to the project. So, you know what I mean? Right. So do that, it automatically makes something stand out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but the whole project was solid. It was easy. It was great to listen to, and it moved. So I think that helped too.
Right. I listen to a whole lot of stuff, and I do reviews on different ones that inspire me to do one. And when the albums come out, I listen to them, and I'm just like, I'm gonna politely skip over this one. It was what it was, but it just I didn't connect with it. But what I wanted to ask you though, based on your style, based on your subject matter from the Dogon. Did I get it right that time?
Yes, you did.
The Dogon. Based on your subject matter with them, you're a very educated woman with 4 degrees and whatnot. Another thing that I picked up on you, you speak well and articulate and all of that stuff. But a lot of fellas right now, especially with a lot of stuff that's coming out of New York, is very it's very aggressive. And in doing that, sometimes they get to talking about the ladies, in some very wild ways and whatnot. So would there ever be, and as much as you listen to, hip hop, would there ever be a situation where you would decline to do a feature just based off, how a guy might be talking about women regularly in his music?
That's a loaded question.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
A good question. Because you talked about, who I am as a person and how that relates to how, I would approach and choose to express myself. And I will tell you this, I talk about it all the time. Yeah, I'm super educated, but I still have to keep my head on swivel when I'm in Cleveland doing stuff. You know what I mean? Like, what does it mean? What does all of that mean in the end? I still gotta have common sense. I still gotta, people say, oh, well, you super educated means like, you don't know what I do with whoever I do that with and however I get down or what I was doing while I was away. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because we expect people to be one-dimensional, and that's not the way that human beings are. This is why I got tired of hearing about people's opinions about Tupac. Brenda got a baby and toss it up. What's wrong with that? Okay, so he's talking about his sexuality, but he doesn't sexualize every woman, obviously, because he's talking about her circumstance, right? And we all do that. Now, if a guy wants to get on a song with me and call me all type of bitches, it's probably not gonna happen. I mean, not me. Now, if you're talking about a specific person or a specific scenario or situation, and that's your take on it, and that's what happened, and that's what you saw, and that's what you lived, that's fine too. If you, I actually did a verse a long time ago. I was a stripper in the song. It was a song called Revlon Lips. I would never forget it. And it was about these strippers. And so I did my little verse. I was a stripper in the verse. Being a writer, having an imagination, taking your the things that you've lived through and being able to write that into art is so dope to me. It's a narrative, it's an experience, it's something you saw, it's something you'll never forget. I've been telling more stories than I have ever. And I love it. I love being able to tell a good story, draw somebody in for a story and tell them something that I did or something I saw or went through. But if somebody want to do, as long as I'm not being directly disrespected, I mean, you never know what somebody's been through. If I say something negative about men or, even the post that I did, somebody could have been like, well, you could have, and somebody on Facebook did say, well, don't you think you could have been, this or that about it? Well, let's look at the full circumstance. Was I unreasonable? So if somebody got something to say and, you don't just take it for surface value and inject your own traumas into it and look at it for what it is, then it's fine. So if somebody asks me to do a song and it's about something that's hypersexual, well, I'm a human being. If they do something about, just anything, I'm kind of with it. As long as I'm not being disrespected, as long as it's not going to, I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to writing.
Got you. You just got to introduce that a little differently than how you just rolled that out. You should have said on the song I was a stripper. You said I used to be a stripper. On the song, I'm like, I'm just playing. The order of that just caught me off guard for a minute. Nah, but my only concern. So the other day, or maybe a month or so ago, a guy on one of the most popular teams in music, like the 4th dude in the crew, or maybe the 5th guy, he put out a new album, and because I like the movement, I was like, let me check him out. And I think I had even listened to another project or two of his before. And I'm like, let me check my man out and see what his new project is about. And like I said, I like the movement. But I get into like the 6th or 7th song and like the just the messaging. I mean, just all of the references to women was just really raw. And I mean, I just, like I said, it wasn't enough for me to go and tweet anything or Instagram anything about it. I ended up not doing a review on the record. I mean, I just turned it off. I was like, damn, bro, like you said, if you can't do anything more descriptive or creative or you just a little younger than for what I'm about right now. And the other peers, the other dudes on your team, they're farther along in their maturity and where they are as men and whatnot. They do their thing differently. I can rock with them. But this right here, this is just kind of low hanging fruit. So I just shut the album off and I was like, well, move on to the next. But I'm saying, if there was, I guess, would you ever like disagree with, even though an artist might not be speaking to you, might not be talking about Rain, but if he's just been getting at women, I'm getting some head, I got some top, I just all that type of stuff just repeatedly. I mean, could it be a point where it's like, I just really I don't really get down with your content?
If it's like that where it's just egregious, then
that's what it was. It was egregious, in my opinion.
I mean, then that's a no. And see, nobody like that would even deal with me.
Okay.
Just track what you put out. I mean, that person would never even reach out to me. You know what I mean? But again, it's about choice, right? And the other thing about being an artist too that I think is pretty cool is that, just being real, like you are wherever you are in your evolution as a human being. Right. Maybe somebody else is in that same space and they can understand. But you don't know, his mama might have left him, put him up for adoption. You know what I mean? Not he maybe didn't get the love that he deserved. He could have been in the system his whole life. He could have made a poor choice and nobody supported him. So maybe that's where he at and how he has to let out his pain, because we can't forget the best music, the best stories are told from real experience where there's some type of real raw emotion. He's expressing himself. Does he probably need to get some help if that's all he thinks and has to function in a society with women? Hope that he can build a foundation for a future and have some generational wealth and be able to build something. Yeah, that's gonna get in the way of his ability to experience certain parts of his life. So I hope he's able to let that out and it does something for him, but also to be able to bring something else in from that. If not, that's on him though. You know what I mean? But hey, that's where he is in life right now. He could come out with a project and completely reformed in 2 years from now.
Right. Like I said, that's where I am. I was excited and eager to check out the dude's project that day when it came out. And like I said, I just got into it, and I'm like, okay, track 3, getting some head, picked up short to give some top. I'm getting myself sucked. Okay, track 4, getting sucked. I'm getting sucked. All right, track 5, same thing. And I just got to 7 and was like, all right, bro. I mean, I'm gonna come back to you when you move on to something a little bit different. I mean, yeah. But anyway, let's get into what's next for you. I saw some stuff on your Instagram about March, maybe, that you had something coming together. Earlier in the interview, you mentioned you were focused on getting these projects, some finishing touches and whatnot. So, what's next to try to capitalize on this momentum from has there been some positive feedback from this verse? I mean, I know kind of with where we are with music right now, it's not delivered in the same way. So while I'm a fan of Portishus, it's not everybody knows about it, but personally, has there been some kind of pickup for you from that feature?
So definitely, I mean, and he was gracious enough to just be like, this is the young lady on the project that y'all asking about. Because he told me he was like, I'm about to post a video in a second because people keep asking about it.
Okay.
So he put the video up, put the verse up, and was like, go follow her. And so he posted on Twitter too. So he was able to send some of his following over my direction. So I appreciate that, because a lot of times people don't do stuff like that. But the fact that he was that thoughtful. And so I'm actually going to release a single early March. The song is already mixed. It's already ready to go. It's already mastered. It's all set to go. And it's a producer from Cleveland. So before I actually do some of these other bigger projects, I wanted to keep the momentum going by releasing a single. And like I said, it's the producer, Be Ready, Beat Factory. I mean, he got some fire, always has. And so I heard him playing one on Instagram, and I'm like, give me that. Can I have that one? So he was like, I got you. So he sent it over to me, and I jumped right on it. And it's a little different than what I normally do too. I let music guide me. So I don't just jump on every track doing the same thing. Some people do that. They use the same cadence on every single song. You hear them. It's what they do. I have to listen to a beat. I have to do what it tells me to do. So the song is called Leave You Alone. It's just super, like, I laughed a lot while I was recording it. I had fun.
Okay.
I'm working on a project with Bronze Nazareth. I'm actually putting all the songs together, and then me and him gonna get in the lab sometime soon. And then Ninth Prince. I've actually been working on, I mean, we kind of just decided, like, out of nowhere, he like, going to do a project on, yeah. So
now where is he based out of?
Ninth Prince.
Yeah.
Ninth Prince was in he was actually the person that put together Killer Army.
Oh, so, yeah. Okay. I remember the name. Okay.
Yeah. So he has a connection to Ohio. So working with all of these Ohio artists is interesting. So, from Staten Island to somewhere in Ohio, he always doing something. So he actually ran me a track, and we were in Quad Studios in New York. He was working on his Shaolin Prince album, which should be coming out soon. And he played a beat and was like, just, record something. And I think he wanted to, it was a lot of people there. There was like a fashion show going on, plenty of people in the control room. What would I sound like on it? It came out so like that same feel you get from the verse that I did with Hus is the same feel you get from this, but it's even more dirty and more dark. That's kind of his production.
Can you repeat that? Your signal messed up for a second.
It's a little bit more dirty. It's a little bit more dark. So Ninth Prince has a way of making tracks that are really soulful, but in a dark way.
Okay.
With my voice and the way that I do stuff, it just came out so good. Like, people were really, so we doing a project. So I'm currently just working on 2 projects. I'm gonna keep the singles coming to keep people engaged and keep it moving.
I see one person in the live chat that's been watching for a while, but for anybody that watches this after the fact, I mean, you can go to Rain's Instagram account. You can throw that out there in just a second, but you can go back. You can go down in her account, and she's actually has a couple of verses over like What We Do, one of my favorite beats of all time. Also, I think like Reflection maybe, or something from Mos Def and Talib. You got something on there that you're rhyming over from them?
What was it called?
I can't remember the name of that song.
I don't know why. It wasn't
Restoration.
Yeah.
Restoration. So yeah, that's 2 very different types of beats to rhyme over, and you can get a sense of her range and versatility and whatnot. And let me ask you this: Do you think that a female MC could like just break through on her own? Like we see and Armani Caesar come up with Griselda and be introduced by them, and and that helps. But do you think we're at a point where, I mean, Rhapsody was kind of the only one for Jamla, but I mean, she still was kind of co-signed and stood behind, by Ninth. But with you, would you just be coming out on your own? Do you think it could happen for a female MC like that, just breaking through, just off her own sweat equity and whatnot?
I think it just depends on what who you have around you, how you optimize, whatever opportunities you have. everything is a platform anymore. So
Right.
I don't know who's looking, or who wants to do something with you. And I mean, I happen to be in LA on vacation for the weekend, just trying to get away from things. And then, somebody I know introduced me to somebody I didn't know, who then said, "Hey, let's do something."
Okay.
So you just don't know, what's going to put you in front of, what audience or who. So I mean, I don't know. And I think that's the best part. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just gonna make the music, put it out, enjoy it, and see what it does.
Right. And I had to laugh at you the other day because you said you were trying to talk about a few females that you like and you thought had skills and whatnot, and you went to talk about the sister that's with Drumworks with Conway, and you were
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to say her name.
I don't know how to say. She got letters and numbers.
Yeah, numbers. Because I was gonna say something about her a couple of weeks. On Fridays, I usually do like a new music update, and I was like something genius, but it's her name is actually Love the Genius.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm like, she needs to put that in her Instagram after the number 7 and whatever 7X, whatever the genius. She could put love so we know what to call her and talk about when we mention her, off of social media.
Yeah,
But
I heard out to some track. I was like, this chick is dope.
yeah, she got some skills.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of her, like, do you think that's something that we could start seeing? I don't know if it's happening naturally or it's a label thing or kind of like the leaders of these different independent records, but we don't see a lot of collaborations with a lot of the females. Is it a chance for more of you all to start linking up and putting out tracks together the way that the fellas do?
I just saw her and Shay Noir together in a picture. Ciroc and Rhapsody were on tour together. It's not like I mean, it just
I was a little disappointed that only I think Latifah and then that other female, I don't know what her name is. I think she wears the mask or something, but it was only Latifah and I think one other sister that was on Rhapsody's album. And I just thought with it being such a dope album, it was a chance. It's a chance for artists that are in other lanes to jump on with her and show a different side of what they do. And it doesn't happen all that often.
I don't know. Maybe she
I'm
was.
saying this, Rain. I'm saying this. I was listening. I was reading something from Royce the 5'9" the other day, and he said he was gonna have the Corday kid on his album, but the record label blocked the feature and didn't want Corday on his album because they don't want him being grouped in with an older guy. I would have really dug that collaboration, but the label, they blocked it. So I'm just saying, I don't know why it's happening, but it doesn't seem like the females are working together enough, in my opinion.
Oh well, I think too, if somebody feels like their style doesn't mesh maybe with somebody else's, or they don't have a contact to that person, maybe they're not asking. And working in my projects, I'm just doing my stuff. And if I come across a beat where, it's something where I'm like, well, I'm not really sure what direction I want to go, I'm gonna get this to another artist. We'll go on this one, So I don't know where that's happening. I can't make a guess, but I can say that I've seen those females reaching out to each other. I've seen them supporting each other. I've seen them in pictures together. So, the one thing that I will always be cautious of is creating friction where there isn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't know those women. I've never met any of them. And maybe our paths will cross at some point, and I would be completely open to doing whatever together. But like you said, maybe it's the label, maybe they're trying to get a fuller catalog together before they start featuring a lot. Maybe there's other features that were planned out for them. Maybe there's a song that they don't know that this woman would be good for, and they really don't talk to her, they don't know where to ask her. You know what I mean? And a lot of features happen real organically where the person, how it's like the same group of people, they always working because they know each other.
Well, that's, and like you just said, that's why I feel like Love the Genius and Shay could easily get together because they're in the same circles per se. I know Cyrock was on Shay Noir's After Seven album that just came out like a month ago. So it's happening. I'm just saying more easily, it seems like you'll get male MCs from different walks. Like you'll see a Jadakiss and a Talib Kweli, or at least the Ghost Cat Styles and a Talib Kweli. You'll see some different pairings that those guys don't normally line up, but they'll do it for some reason. I'm just saying right now, it just seems like it's a little more difficult for, and it's, as a fan, I could think maybe, you know, some people don't want to let a certain artist go over to another artist because maybe they just don't have the confidence in their artist standing up against that other artist. Not necessarily that her verse would be, just maybe just a little hesitant to experiment because it hasn't happened so much. It's still relatively new.
I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I mean, people, it could be that. It could be, you know, I don't, you know, they don't want a person on a certain verse. And it's crazy even thinking with Hus, the first beat that he gave me, I didn't perform as well as I did on the second one. So, you know, maybe somebody did send a beat over and she got it and just was like, I'm coming up dead on this one. You know, it moved you, it don't move me. You know, you just I don't know. I guess it would come down to you literally asking them, why aren't you featured with more females? You know what I mean? To find out. To get to the bottom of that.
See, but that question isn't gonna get asked on Sway. And signal went out for a second, but I'm not trying to say that there's back to, you know, we do see some different collaborations over on the men's side where it's almost like guys will say, you know, Future. I hear him all, and I'm not a big Future fan, but I hear him saying, I've heard him say a couple of times to different producers, don't send me any, if you're an East Coast producer, quote unquote, don't send me nothing. Don't send me your attempt at making a Southern sounding track. Send me something from the East Coast because that's what I want to be on. I just see more a more adventurous nature with the men. Like, I'm gonna go out here and make this work. Whereas I just wonder, you know, is it somebody holding these collaborations back from happening more frequently on the women's side? That's all I'm saying.
I don't know, but that's a good question. Is there something in the way, or is it just that she just working? I mean, you got to think of it this way. How has it classically been? There's only room for one woman. There's only one woman in the crew. There's only one, and you get used to working with men all the time because that's mostly what it is.
Right.
Always a handful of women to a whole bunch of men. And if 50 people like you and want to work with you, 2 of them are women, the other 48 are men. And if they get something to you faster than somebody else does, you start working on it, or you get something, you know what I mean? So it's just, when you look at the numbers, she is more likely going to work with men because that's most of what's out here.
Right. You mentioned a couple of producers, you know, the Cleveland Cat, Ninth, Prince. We see a lot of great projects coming out right now, exclusively produced by one person, or one producer. Are you familiar with any of these? And is there any particular producer, one or two, that you would love to knock out like 6 or 7 songs with for like an EP or something, or a special project?
So I'm working with 2 producers that I absolutely love, and I was approached by another producer too that I absolutely would love to work with. It's honestly, the projects that I'm coming out with are with people who I'm like, this is about to be dope. You know what I mean? So I'm happy about those opportunities. And then there's somebody over in the UK, he sends me beats all the time. It's just a classic hip hop sound. And would love to work with him too. Do you know what I mean? So
you're not gonna give any of these names out.
oh, okay. There's a producer out in the UK named Brutal Caesar.
Okay.
Super, super dope. You can find him on Instagram. Just classic hip hop sound. Iron Chic. He's been around a long time. He is his production. He played beats for me a couple days ago, and I listened to all of these and was ready to like fall out. I'm like, every single track. Bronze Nazareth, I've known a long time. He was one of the first producers to actually reach out my direction. He's like a big brother. Like we've had fun times. He's just good people. And so being able to, over the years, we talked about doing this and we finally are going to do it. And the difference is this time is that I got all the beats and it's happening. So I'm only a few songs away from being done where me and him about to lock in for a session. So that's a big deal. It's finally all coming into fruition. So I'm honored to be approached by these different producers and excited to see what comes out from what they give me.
Okay. I thought when you were talking about UK, it's a cat over there named Superior. I thought you were going to say it was him because he put out, are you familiar with him?
No.
He put out an album with Ito. You familiar with Ito?
Yes, I've heard the name before.
He put out an album with him like from 2019, and I just found it like 5 months ago, and I was like, this shit is ridiculous. It was like my favorite album. It's called Long Story Short.
Okay.
And Superior, he has a couple of projects out there, and then like a couple of them with just he had another solo project with just Estee Knack. I think he's out of Massachusetts or somewhere on the east what are they called? New England, in the New England area, I believe. But yeah, I thought you were talking about him. About to let you get out of here. I know it's Friday night. You got to get on with your thing. So with your first release, are you planning like I consider an album or an LP, like, I don't know, 11 or 12 or more songs. And then anything 9 and below, 7 around, that's kind of an EP to me. Are you trying to do a full LP? A lot of the fellas are going to these, 10 or 9 and a intro or some skits. It's kind of all kind of configurations out there right now for a project. Would you be aiming for like more of a full length project or going the EP route for your first project?
Definitely EP, but you know what? You never know what magic will happen.
Last minute.
I mean, seriously, you don't know. And I think the good thing about working with really good producers is that they're able to take what you give them and make something else. It feels like, I mean, you go in, you record some verses, you put some hooks down, and you watch the process, and then a producer delivers something more full. They're able to find things to put on there to really add more body to that piece of work. Even the way that everything is mixed. And so once everything is all gathered together in one place and we're able to sit down and go through track for track, I have a very strong feeling that if it feels right, we'll go with it. But if then there's more, it's nothing wrong with doing that either.
Okay. Like I said, you have the single out there with Hus, put you in front of his audience, and that whole movement on what we see on the East Coast right now or out of New York City. Who else would you like to work with? If you could grab 3 guys for your EP, for your first project, if you don't want to go, I know some people do their first thing and they want it to be all them, no features. But if you could get 3 features on, an upcoming project, who would those 3 features be?
Oh my goodness. You know what's crazy? I have given 0 thought to features. I have, and I think you hit it on the head. Like when you finally are like, you know what, this is it. I'm doing this and I want this. I am so caught up in what I have to say and just it being me. That's why I said this is not, I didn't have to be a rapper. It wasn't at the forefront. It was just, a gift. And I respect it. I love being able to express myself, but I have so much to say. And I started on a song yesterday, and it was about about the economic structure. And
Okay.
Black people fit into that. So this is what I want to talk about as I navigate economics as an individual. You know what I mean? And I haven't thought, okay, well, who wants to talk about the stock market and economics with me? I just haven't done it. Now, once I get through the project, as I talk to people who exist within my circle, then I'm gonna be like, hey, is this something that you want to, because that's how it happens. You let somebody say like, oh, I gotta, that's dope. Like, okay, come on. You know what I mean? So that's kind of sometimes how it happens. And I think that's how this is going to happen. Because I want to make sure I have enough of what I need. And there's got to be enough of me. I don't want to do a compilation. I don't want to get into that, especially if it's not a lot of content. But maybe as the content starts to grow and I work with my producers, they'll probably be like, hey, I think this person would be great for that. Or do you have somebody for that? Because I feel like this song needs that. Then I'm going to start doing that.
Okay. See, and now you're getting back to where I was earlier. Like, I don't really have, even the artist that I was telling you about earlier that had all the mentions of oral sex and, all the egregious stuff with women. I don't really have a problem with that. It's not what I want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
But I missed the day when there were more MCs that came out with more thoughtful subject matter, like you just said, we're talking about the stock market or economics and whatnot. And that's what I'm cool with. The Benny the Butchers and Conway and 38 Special. I'm cool with all that. I just would like to be able from time to time to mix in, Black Thought, Royce the 5'9", and
Yeah.
like it's people in all kind of different lanes.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about where we are in hip hop is that I can go and find all of those guys. Like I said, it's dope now that Black Thought is making projects instead of just sticking with the roots and what they do and how they do their thing.
Yeah.
Or doing his features. It's dope that he volume 3 of his streams of thought and whatnot. What do you want to be? You're talking about going out to different producers. You said something about Soulful and Ninth Prince being able to make grittier, darker, soulful records. What would you like to be your sound? And I honestly, I'm really reaching out to a lot of producers because I really want to talk about production and who's crafting these sounds. I actually got to talk to Nicholas Craven a couple of weeks ago, gave me some time, and he had my favorite series of albums from 2020. But what would you like to rhyme over?
So it's crazy because as a poet, I've actually recorded songs where the whole song is poetry and there's maybe somebody singing on the hook. And it has that whole like soulful, like I could just see myself in like a speakeasy. Like it got that feel, like some old Billie Holiday looking type stuff.
Okay.
All the way to, something a little bit more street. My thing is that once I get the beat, that's when I decide what emotion is going to be, evoked. And then what do I have to say? What going through that week? How do I feel? What's my biggest, if there's a beat where it just sounds like, it sounds like a struggle, what's my current struggle? That's kind of how it happens.
Right.
I'm not looking for a specific sound. And, I don't even think, I think that's kind of based on producer. And then it kind of goes from there. The producer kind of puts that out there for you. Then you kind of decide what the content on top of that's going to be. So even with a more, I would say even with like a more dark or a more dirty or gritty side, there's definitely going to be some street stories. It's definitely going to be some stories about some, some things I've been through, some things I've seen, some different experiences. And if it's going to be a more soulful side, it's going to be about some of the things that I've dealt with, some losses that I've had in my life, what it means to be me every single day, maybe some dreams I've given up on or some people I've let go of. So, and I think we all like that though, right? Because if I talked about what it means to be hungry and to be broke and struggling as a young person, know what that is, right? You also know what it means when you've taken something you weren't supposed to because you need something. And so, I mean, people are so complicated and they don't want to admit it. I mean, people are complicated.
Yeah.
I'm complicated. I know I'm complicated. Anybody that loves me and knows me knows I'm complicated. And I'm okay with being that way when it's in music. And you don't need to expect anything from me. You just get what I got and who I am. And sometimes in that moment, and sometimes for that period of time, that's kind of, I mean, you know, depending on where I'm at, what I feel when I get the beat.
Gotcha. Last question. Like I said, I know it's a Friday night. Let you get on with your evening.
Yes.
What was your like I said, 2020 was a great year for me musically. I felt like it created some stillness where a few MCs really locked in and really created something really magical. And while it was a lot of hell that we all went through and a lot of trying times, a lot of loss, a lot of personal tragedy and whatnot, people having, you know, facing some challenging economic times and whatnot, I was fortunate enough, and like I said, there was some artists who delivered some projects that just blew me away. Even as an older hip hop fan, I was like, damn. So, did you have that type of experience in 2020 with hip hop? And if so, you know, what were maybe the 2 or 3 big moments in hip hop for you?
So I'll have to be honest. 2020 was a very challenging year for me.
You saying that the company of businesses were affected. Maybe you weren't in the same space as me.
Well, professionally, so I actually have a leadership role in healthcare.
Okay.
And there were a lot of tears around COVID. And so there was that. And then my mother got diagnosed with cancer, and about 8 weeks later, she passed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So, yeah, so my life took a trajectory that I was not expecting and did not have the control over kind of what happened, and having to deal with all of that at a time when courts were, you know, not accessible, you know, city hall wasn't accessible, and I had to be the person who was responsible for making sure that her homegoing was what it should be. So there was very little focus on music for me. Actually, what happened was, as a result of all of that, I started making more music and expressing myself more.
Okay.
And so towards the end of the year, that's when I ended up in the studio more. That's when I started recording more. That's when I started writing more. That's when I put a studio in my house. So I was really, I think when things like that happen to you, you go inward.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything comes out. So 2021 is about everything that, you know, is coming out. 2020, I went in. 2021, I'm out.
That's dope. Like I said, sorry to hear that, and sorry for your loss and everything. Those do create those heightened creative moments, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So now I'm really intrigued to what Rain is gonna unleash on the masses in 2021. What's the name gonna be? Is it gonna be Rain, aka Black Widow? Is it gonna be Rain, the Quiet Storm? Who can we look for when you do drop?
So Black Widow is she is an interesting aspect of my personality. Black Widow is a little bit reclusive. Um, she is a person that has seen different things, and different experiences have shaped the way that she sees the world. Rain is the other side of me. She's the more emotional, the more
Cerebral.
the more explorative side. Yep, that's yeah. the widow speaks on what she sees, and she sees exactly what she sees for what it is and does what she has to do. And that's just natural in human beings anyway. You know what I mean? It's just one side or the other. So it's kind of a duality. Black Widow came about because I made a song called Black Widow's Kiss, and people started calling me Black Widow after that. Formed this song and they like Black Widow. So that's kind of how that happened. So Rain the Quiet Storm is where I started at. Black Widow is just part of my personality. And so yeah,
that's very Wu-Tangish though, you know, to have that second and third name or four name for some of them that have four names and whatnot. So
you allowed as many as you want. You are artist.
right.
You want you explore this as much as you want to, and it's so nice that I don't have to fit a mold. I don't have to be a specific anything. I just get to be me, and if people like it, that just makes it even better. So yeah, y'all getting some Black Widow. Y'all getting a whole lot of Black Widow this year, because she is that part that has to deal with circumstances, and she had to deal with a lot of circumstances last year. The more the Rain part, you'll see little glimmers of her, because she's the more vulnerable part. She is the full woman. So y'all gonna get the full essence in so many words.
Okay. Another thing, Busta Rhymes actually had Rhapsody do that on his album this year, his release, Extinction Level Event 2.
Mm-hmm.
She played his ex-wife, or the mother of his children, and she wrote a verse about being, you know, the wife that tries to keep the kids from the husband and whatnot. That really wasn't my favorite song on the album. Honestly, for it to be her and him, I listened to that song like the least of everything on the project for some reason. I don't. It just.
Well, you know, I think I heard him talk about it, and I think she did that. He had her do her thing, and she came back with that.
Oh, really?
It came from a very honest place. Yeah, I believe that's how that happened, and then he went with it when he got it back.
That's weird, because she don't have any kids, so I guess maybe she was inspired, you know, by something she came across.
Does she not have children?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Well, let me not create no smoke.
Well, here's my thing. I listened to the song a couple times. It is not one that I would play over and over again, but I like the fact that it is thought-provoking content. This is a reflection of reality. This is sometimes how it happens, and it got people talking about it, and that's what music is supposed to do. And how often do we have those stories of you know, the baby mama, baby daddy, the co-parenting thing? Somebody can relate to that. Somebody is thinking, you know what, it's a good thing she finally said she did that despite him, because my baby mama won't say it, but I know she's doing it every day.
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's anything wrong with it. It's definitely not something that you start every day with on your way into work, or you're going to go work out. You're not going to work out to that song, but it serves its purpose.
Right. Yeah, I definitely I respect them for doing it and taking the chance. I just it was one of the songs on there, and you know, that was another double album, you know, 22, 23 records. And you know, I could go back and listen to it by itself, or it could shuffle on to my whatever while I'm working out. I might have a total different take on it. But like I said, where it fell on the album, I think just the album was getting a little long in the tooth for me at that, because it was like 16, 17 songs deep, and I was like, okay, you know. And then the end of that project was phenomenal. But anyway, let you get on out of here. I appreciate you getting with me and responding to my you know, my DMs or IMs, whatever the hell they call them. Like I said, I just wanted to I liked what I heard, and then learning more about you on your Instagram page, you know, I thought you were pretty interesting. Then I found out you were from Ohio, so you know, I'm rooting for you. And I wish you the best when you do come out, and I hope to talk to you once you do get rolling. And anything else for anybody that's going to be checking for Rain, aka the Black Widow?
Be looking out this March. Drop that single. The projects will be out soon, and I'm gonna keep making music. And so this is like, I would say, is my real first debut as a solo artist. I've been around a long time, but it's time for those projects to drop. So people about to get a full length piece of me.
All right. Like I said, in getting to know you more, you seem like you're very capable. And I'm just looking forward to it. So I'm not gonna hold you up anymore. Again, I appreciate you for rocking with me.
Yes.
This will be out there on, like I said, on Apple Podcasts. I'll tag you in some stuff, and hopefully, some people get to know about an interesting, you know, female, interesting MC who has 4 degrees.
Yes, I do.
All right. Hey, take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too.
Peace.
All right, peace.
Hey, look, so I like what I heard on the single, and I was trying to bring some different individuals onto my platforms and whatnot. And so I was honored to get a chance to talk to Rain, and hopefully, we hear something from her in the near future. And we'll all get a chance to see what she was talking about, how those things actually come to fruition. So I'm gonna shut this down, get on out of here for the night. I'm late on making some dinner, so I got to get creative. But thanks for checking me out. Again, you can catch It's Always Personal on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. And then this is here on YouTube. Like I always end, I had to shut down the It's Always Personal recording. But like I always end the show, man, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start in order to be great. Peace.